Sup everyone, welcome back to another video, and on screen you see I'm once again revisiting the Dehya Mains subreddit because this is the most requested video by far for me to make, and people just want me to react to what the hell is going on in this subreddit. Now of course, let's be honest here, the vast majority of these people are extremely disappointed, and in a way they're suffering, right? We're not here to poke fun or make fun of these people, but to really kind of see it from their perspective, try to understand it from people who has devoted a lot of resources, either saved up through months of grinding these, you know, air quote boring Hoyoverse events, or have decided to spend some money buying maybe a welcome moon, saving up, hopefully getting multiple constellations of Dehya, maybe even her weapon, and now all of that has been uprooted essentially. Now before you guys criticize and say, well, if you are going to back out of a character just because they are a bad character potentially, or were you really planning to be a devoted player of said character? And you have a good point, right? But at the same time, it's one thing to say a character isn't as you expected them to be, but it's another thing to say, I expected an Asian lady to show up to the date in her mid-30s and also having certain features, and when I arrive it's a white man in his 50s. Okay, it's not that different. Dehya is still Dehya. However, it's a huge discrepancy from what is the standard quota, meaning that, I mean, a 5-star character can be bad or inadequate during their initial banner, but having a 5-star character that is not only non-limited now because she is a standard banner character, but also to have a ton of issues that even theory crafters seemingly cannot wrap their heads around the character fully, really does dampen the mood when it comes to whether or not you want to continue investing and going all in on said character. Before we get into the subreddit though, I do want to highlight a scenario because I know a lot of you guys are going to talk about it. It's like, Walrus, this kind of reminds me of maybe like a Kokomi situation. Now, yes, you're right. Kokomi, Yaimiko, there have been characters in the past that when they're released, they weren't really living up to the standard of maybe the community. But what Hoyoverse has done for those characters were two different things, in fact. What Hoyoverse did actually for Kokomi is different for what they did for Yaimiko. For Kokomi was that they essentially made her a necessity in a lot of gameplay because the people who refused to pull Kokomi were heavily reliant on Mona or other hydro applicators, Mona being one of the better ones. Now Mona's problem was that she wasn't able to heal you unless you ran her on the prototype Amber, which then you can't run the Twirling Tails with the Dragon Slayer, which is a damage loss. But if you don't run healing on Mona, Hoyoverse found a way around to get under your skin, meaning that they released the Rift Hounds. And people, if you've been through this era of gameplay where if you were stubbornly refusing to run Kokomi and stuck to Mona, even running the prototype Amber, your life was difficult to say the least through the Rift Hound era of Genshin Impact. Now of course there's a lot of people who did survive that era until this day swears by Mona instead of Kokomi, but Hoyoverse's goal was never to eradicate Mona players. They're simply wanting to incentivize Kokomi players, if that makes sense, right? Because eradication of an entire play method for Genshin Impact doesn't really bode well for Hoyoverse's credibility amongst the free-to-play players. So they just wanted you to have a harder time doing it, but you can still do it if you tried hard enough, right? So that's how they kind of heavily incentivize Kokomi, and ever since then a lot of people swears by Kokomi as well. But when it comes to Yaimiko, Hoyoverse went a completely different direction. They left Yaimiko out to dry essentially for many patches until Dendro came around. They were completely silent. They did not hint towards Yaimiko ever receiving any changes, nor did they hint towards Electro becoming any better. They kind of just dug their head underground and went to work. And once Dendro came around, Electro kind of got uplifted, and nowadays Electro sits in a very comfortable spot. Now it's Dehya's turn, right? We can say Hoyoverse maybe will introduce new enemies that are Dehya focused, but when we see her kit, there really isn't anything there that we can lean on to say, well, that feature can really be a great counter to a certain type of enemies that's coming in the future. They're like, Dehya doesn't really have that. Her skill seems to be a weaker version of a shield, right? And also her pyro application seems to be negligible. Her burst skill is, well, it's cool, but I mean, Xiangling can be off field dealing pyro damage, which is incredibly valuable within Genshin Impact. So all in all, it leads us to the final answer, which is there likely is a new type of synergy that Dehya could be utilized in, right? That's it. So far, that's all we have if we look at past records, meaning that she likely will follow more of a Yaimiko path going forward as opposed to a Kokomi path. Now, who's to say Dehya is going to be any better than mediocre, because she is a standard banner character. With all that said, let's jump into the subreddit. I know it's one hell of an intro, but I had to get that out of the way because I know you guys are going to be writing stuff like that in the comment section as a form of copium, but letting you guys know Dehya might not really receive that kind of premium treatment. Now, I've already skimmed through here a little bit. As you guys can see, one of the first thing I want you guys to notice is in fact that the Dehya Mains subreddit, and I believe this is the only Genshin Mains subreddit that has a ranting mega thread. Yes, it has gotten so bad to the point where that they have an entire mega thread dedicated just to people typing out their frustrations. Okay, and I did go in and take a look. I can't show you guys a lot of it because most of it talks about leaks. They're saying like, oh, I was, expecting this, that, X, Y, Z. You guys can get the picture. I have picked out some really interesting posts though, starting with this one. All right, this is great because what this post essentially highlights is actually HoYoverse, the Genshin Impact official subreddit advertising Dehya, and I think this has to be a record setter of some sort. Correct me if I'm wrong, there has been a post that has been disliked to this degree. This post has negative 6,000 dislikes, and I think at this point it's even more than this. The Dehya mains are definitely making their voice heard, and how much you want to bet? Maybe like 50-60% of the 2,056 comments are memes. And you know what? I would even go as far as say 70-80% of the 2,056 comments are memes. Rightfully so, right? This character has been teased, has been shown. Like, look at how they even presented her in the 3.5 live stream. Like, the music, like that metal rock music really went hard, right? They made this character seem like just incredible. And then they hit you with Dehya is not an event exclusive character and she'll be added to the standard banner. Ooh, that hit. And then with now the teaser going hard saying the wall of hope, you cannot convince me. There's no way you can convince me that HoYoverse isn't kind of giving the community a very subtle middle finger. It just feels like, oh, like you guys were excited for this character, right? You saw the leaks. Well, here she is. Hope you guys enjoy. But the community strikes back. The Dehya mains are not going to take this lying down. If the ship's going down, they're going down with it, right? Like, it's great to see. And I hope if you guys watch this video, maybe join the dog pile here for a little bit. Make your voice heard. I know this is not going to change anything. Let's be honest. However, it's not going to be, oh my goodness, our subreddit got negative 6K votes. Let's turn Dehya around, make her event exclusive. It's not going to change anything. But it sends a message, right? It sends a message that we're not just going to take this laying down. We're going to make some noise. You're not getting away with this. So at least like for the moment, right? So good on your Dehya mains. A thumbs up from Walrus. Now, here's another post, which is a little funny, kind of, not really, but it's funny in the fact that, let's just take a look at it, right? So what this person is really saying is, however, this current behavior is extremely unsettling. What do they mean by unsettling, right? This goes beyond a single poor design character at this point, right? It's mind-boggling to me that they're willing to not only engage campaign of deception, but effectively gag and blackmail content creators into lying for them as well. Now, this one is quite charged. This over here, there's really no blackmailing or deception, right? While yes, they did present Dehya to be a main character essentially in the Sumeru storyline, but we've had characters in the past that were playing major roles in the story which turned out to be very average characters. And on top of this, they say that there's been blackmailing of content creators. Not really. The Hoyoverse doesn't go around, and I would know this because I am an official content creator for Genshin Impact. They don't go around blackmailing you. What they essentially say is, here are the rules, and if you break it, we're going to have to go after you. And in the case of certain content creators, let's say if you were to make a video fully covering Dehya's leaks and you just like go full hard about it, and that's all your video is about, and you have it in the titles, have it in the thumbnails and all that stuff, yeah, your video is gonna get striked, your channel is gonna get striked, right? They don't want that. So I think what this post really is highlighting is the fact that for the people who are talking about Dehya leaks and also talking bad about them, having their channels being striked is essentially Hoyoverse blackmailing you. Not quite. So and then they continue second, for what? A cheap cash grab on day one of the banner. Well, the reality is it doesn't really matter how Hoyoverse wants to spin this character at this point. Dehya sales are going to suffer. I'm willing to bet my entire channel on it. Dehya sales will suffer. No amount of games that Hoyoverse can play will turn that around, right? And I'm pretty sure Hoyoverse fully understands this. I made videos in the past, well, I mean, just a couple days ago, talking about Hoyoverse's monetary strategy for 3.5. The fact that they didn't also rerun Eula with Mika proves that Hoyoverse still wants to pull some sales, while Hoyoverse is also fully ready to take the hit of Dehya being a poor sales banner. Now they continue saying, why put this much effort into covering up how bad a character is when they can expend less effort to make more money and garner more goodwill by simply boosting the character's numbers a bit? You see, this is speaking straight from the heart of a Dehya main. This is frustration, this is anger, this is a feeling of betrayal, this is a feeling of disappointment, right? It's just all these emotions combined, and it rises to the surface to have this person maybe say things a little more harshly than it actually is. The reality of the thing is that Hoyoverse making Dehya a standard banner character in more ways than one, to me, is them still experimenting with this mixed hybrid type of pyro character who's more focused around non-vaporized synergies, right? Think Jinyan, think Toma, and now think Dehya. These characters share similar traits with each other, and all three cannot really be played in vaporized team comps. Now, why is Hoyoverse continuously experimenting with these characters that are non-vaporized centric? A theory I propose is that Hoyoverse wants to make melt-centric pyro characters, meaning that the characters that work strictly with melt and not vaporize. And melt doesn't really work in the same way vaporize does, meaning you just apply pyro and then cryo. Melt, Hoyoverse seems to want to milk three elements. Now this is important because this post talk about making money, right? Because for most players, you guys see very short-sighted stuff. Make a good character, sell the constellations, sell the weapons, make bank, and get the hell out, right? Or make more money through reruns. But what Hoyoverse sees is probably 3 or 4 parallel dimensions ahead of you guys. In my honest opinion, what Hoyoverse wants to do is they want to develop melt through 3 elements as opposed to 2 like Vaporize does with just hydro and pyro. Melt likely will focus around cryo, dendro, and pyro. Having melt pyro characters lean on dendro as a crutch in order to sustain proper melt reactions is not only a freaking genius idea, which also adds complexity to gameplay, but when it comes to monetization, now Hoyoverse can leverage 3 elemental characters to sell to you guys. Do you understand how insane of a business strategy that could potentially end up being? Now, there has been no concrete proof of Hoyoverse doing this, but I wholeheartedly believe that that is why cryo was specifically left out of dendro reactions. I've actually made a video talking about this if you're interested. And yes, Dehya is just another stepping stone towards the ultimate pyro melt character. Is Dehya going to be the end all be all? I don't think so, because the fact that they made her a standard banner character shows that they're just maybe taking another jab at this type of character design. What I can guarantee you though is Dehya will likely be damn near impossible to work with vaporized compositions, because that's how she was designed. So for this person who made this post, I hope if you do come across this video, you can kind of understand it from Hoyoverse's perspective. If their goal is to make more money, what I've just highlighted will yield them more money over the long run through cryo, dendro, and a pyro character to form a more powerful melt synergy. And also do remember that the goal here is to make sure vaporized pyro characters don't work very well with melt units, and the melt pyro characters cannot really work well with vaporized team comps. That's basically what HoYoverse is going after, like segmenting these two types of pyro characters. They don't want them to cross-pollinate, because that means you then only need one pyro character to work for both melt and vaporize. They want to make sure vaporized pyro stays with vaporize, melt pyro stays with melt, and they cannot cross-pollinate, because that's the only way they can incentivize selling you two types of different pyro characters. Okay, that's why Dehya feels so damn awkward. So they're saying this is going to blow up in their face. It's not. Sorry, but it's going to be very ugly for them. Again, it's not, and extremely damaging to their image and reputation. That's already damaged beyond repair. I know people who refuse to touch another HoYoverse title simply because of Genshin Impact, but there are also people who are diehard HoYoverse fans being like, wow, Genshin Impact is so damn good, I'm going to play every single HoYoverse title, I'm going to spend thousands of dollars, right? That's why I say it's not going to really blow up in their face. It's not going to end up very ugly for them. Yes, they're going to receive some levels of backlash, like the Dehya post they made on Genshin Impact subreddit receiving negative 6,000 votes, but give it some time and things will just blow over. Look at the first year anniversary, look at the Zhongli rework, all that stuff. It's gonna pass, especially because the Dehya Mains subreddit and the community just isn't big enough to generate a splash, even a small one. And with all the content creators, the big ones like Twanto, like Mogadi, like Ziox, you know, they're kind of just going to brush over it too, make a guide, make a funny video, a community collaboration video, and to be honest, it's going to make Dehya look even better. Look at Xinyan, right? There's a lot of positivity surrounding Xinyan mains being, at this point, they've just accepted the character for being bad, and there's actually a lot of positivity and support that goes into Xinyan mains, and when they clear difficult content, it's going to be the same for Dehya. Dehya mains are just going to be regarded as people who want the game to be a little more difficult for themselves, and at the end they're going to turn what is a negative thing about Dehya into a positive. That's it. So right here they also say, and trying to lie about it beforehand is only going to make people react more badly. Oh, again, they didn't really quite lie about it, and there wasn't really much blackmail. We all expected Dehya to be cool until people started looking at her leaks, then they realized what she was going to be, and that's how we ended up here today, right? Like I said, HoYoverse never promised anything. People started digging around and figured things out before they were supposed to, right? If they continue to clamp down harder as if they don't understand what exactly is making people angry at them, reveals that the people running this company are in a state of mind that is quite frankly very, very disturbing. I wouldn't call it disturbing. Welcome to business. You know, this is really what a business is. They just want to maximize profits. That's all they care about. We are just numbers on a screen for them, truly numbers on a screen for them. I'm not even saying this like as a derogatory thing. They don't know who we are. They don't know who EroticWalruss is. They don't know who Mech Battler is. They don't know any of this stuff. If you want to make a difference in this community, it's best that you become like somebody of status or someone of authority, and then you spread your message that way. But also letting you know, people who do say more negative things than positive with this community usually aren't held in high regards by the community. So finally, this person ends the statement with, I'm starting to think that each one of us needs to give serious consideration about whether or not we want to continue supporting a company that's willing to engage in such vile practices. I know I am. How about the rest of you? Now, with a whopping 30 upvotes, even though this this subreddit has 16.9k people, I'm pretty sure that this person got the answer they were looking for. While yes, the message they're trying to spread is, you know, a powerful one, at the end of the day, it's gonna fall on deaf ears, because people will always turn a blind eye when it comes to what HoYoverse does. You can get a rise out of people temporarily. People will get upset, right, because everybody else is upset, right? I mean, I feel very bad. I feel terrible. That's because that's just what's trendy within the Genshin community. Let's see a month from now what people are going to be saying about the fact that Dehya is a standard banner character. I'm pretty sure the fact that a month from now, Dehya even being mentioned in a single post across any social media platforms would be a baffling thing. Most people will be focused on whatever is coming in 3.6. So I'm sorry to say this, but Dehya's fate has more likely been sealed, and if you're unhappy with it, I highly suggest you just skipping her and going for another character. And truly, after scrolling the subreddit for a little bit, apart from some wacky memes and just more sad Dehya mains, it really seems like the negative voting thing is the biggest movement that is happening when it comes to the Dehya subreddit participants. With all that said, I think at this point we should just retire this Dehya main subreddit video format. Although I do enjoy scrolling through it from time to time, I do see that most of them are in their grieving process. And I say this with the heaviest of hearts because I myself was definitely a Dehya lover. I do think this character had superb design. If you guys go look at my older live streams, videos, reactions, she was by far my most anticipated unit to come out in Sumeru, apart from the Dendro Archon. To see her in this state does break my heart, and I do feel bad for all the Dehya mains, and to the point where I understand that they're just doing this as a meme and to have fun. At this point, most of them have accepted for what this is, but for the people who are still suffering, just know that I'm pretty sure in the future, as we approach Natlan, there's going to be other powerful pyro characters that comes out. Fingers crossed that Hoyoverse treats them right. Until next time, urge you to stay safe, peace, bye.